Ooh, I'm excited to talk about this. So, welcome everyone. My name is Michael Regina. I make comics and stuff, but we're here to talk about an Alien role-playing game, the beta edition of the Evolved Edition rule set. So this is like the 2E version of the Alien role-playing game. Yesterday, I got an email saying that the beta edition PDF had been released. So downloaded it, took a look, and I want to do kind of a quick look at it. I want to be careful, like, obviously the beta just came out. I'm not looking to show the whole book or anything like that online, but I did want to take a quick look at specifically a couple of things, mostly the changes to sort of the design. I'll talk a little bit about the rule system, but I'm not going to get into a lot of the differences between the first and the second edition or the Evolved edition of the game. I think that there's some other great resources out there, but from what I understand about them, and I'm also not like a big expert on the first edition of the game, so I wouldn't be the best person to talk about it, but what I understand is that a lot of it was just sort of like cleanups to some of the rule sets and this sort of thing. So I want to talk about my impressions of the Alien role-playing game. I've played a little bit of it before, but was kind of holding off. I'd heard the Evolved Edition was coming out, so I wanted to purchase that when it came out and then maybe dive into it a little bit more. I also own the starter set for the first edition of the game, so I got a little bit of feel for it, but Alien as a franchise, like, in some ways it's like my Star Wars. Like, I love Star Wars, but the Alien franchise for me is like my space epic thing, because it's horror and it's like gritted in reality and our world. It's just it's a incredibly awesome sandbox, and depending on your feelings about stuff like Prometheus and that sort of thing, I think it's really been opened up to some really incredible storytelling, and the Alien role-playing game really builds on that with its rule sets and sort of it gives you a chance to tell your own story, and it's in this great sandbox. So let's take a quick look at it. In the initial edition of the game, the paper was largely printed on black paper with white background, with like lettering and designs and that sort of thing. And I think from like a space standpoint, it was really aesthetically interesting. But I think in the long term, one of the major changes that made them go back and look at this was that got a lot of feedback about the readability of the book, the ability to use it well, like at the table and that sort of thing. And so one of the primary changes that they made right out of the bat was updating the design work from that sort of black background with white lettering and this sort of thing to this, which is more like a white, off-white with like dark greens and blues and black text. I think this aesthetically just looks really good, and as you continue scrolling, like you can kind of see it here on the table of contents. Again, just it's a beautiful design. So I know it's not so much that the last one was like a bad design. It's just that I think in the long term, like a rule book needs to be also a practical tool, and it seems like that these design decisions keep that really high level of polish that Free League has always been known for, but also improves the readability of the book and makes it a more useful tool at the table. But looking real quickly, for those of you who aren't familiar with Alien RPG at all, here's a quick look at the table of contents so you can get a feel for like what's in there. You can see just sort of the main section. So space as hell. So looking at like what the feeling of the Alien role-playing game is. How do you capture that Alien universe feeling? That's, again, one of the things that I love about Alien is it took that sort of used in universe that we saw in Star Wars and stuff, and it transported it into a sci-fi horror setting. And, you can see a similar type of thing like Blade Runner, which, it all seems like that's existing in the same universe. But you get the feeling of like, how do I capture this world? And I think that this section in particular does a really great great job of capturing this. So let's take a look at one of the sections here. Let's go over to the key themes. So again, a look at this updated design. Like, this looks so great. And I don't think that you've sacrificed anything from an aesthetic standpoint of feeling like Alien by going into this white background with black lettering and spot art. I think the sort of space horror vibes are captured so well just in the spot art that we get throughout the book. And so you get this great legibility. This book actually looks and feels a lot like the Electric State role-playing book. like they've kind of keyed in on sort of a font style, design style with the Electric State book that it looks like they brought over here as well. And I was a big fan of the Electric State book, which I need to do a review of as well. But yeah, it just looks gorgeous. But you see here like the key themes of the game. So if these key themes intrigue you, you might be interested in this game. So one of the things it talks about here is there's 2 modes of play. So there's the cinematic play version of the game. So this is going to be an adventure that's more of like a one-shot type thing, or maybe only a few sessions. And the goal of that is to create a game that feels like a movie. So it's like a one-shot. Often the characters are going to already be pre-made for you and this sort of thing. And so that sort of style of the game is a tightly focused narrative version. Then the campaign play version of the game is for longer continuous play. So you're going to be creating your own colony together. There's not a lot that's going to be given to you at the beginning. Y'all are going to create this at your table. And so if you look at these kind of key themes, we have whether you're playing cinematic or campaign play, any game of Alien is based on 3 key themes. So those themes are space horror, sci-fi action, and a sense of wonder. Let's look at the sense of wonder one, because I think this is maybe the one that feels a little bit like, what do you mean by that? So the Alien role-playing game lets you discover strange worlds and ancient, incomprehensible artifacts on a grand scale. Many Alien stories grapple with questions of humanity's creation, destiny, and place in the universe. And this is what I think, for me anyway, where Alien sort of has continued to be interesting, is whether you have a certain feeling or not about the Prometheus franchise, I think that, or the Prometheus film, I think that the ideas it introduced into it made the Alien universe expand into some really interesting philosophical spaces. And maybe you don't like where they've taken those philosophical spaces, but I like that has been introduced into the universe as a part of the play. It's not just sort of like corporate greed and monsters and fighting, and not that those things aren't fun, because Alien and Aliens are 2 of my favorite movies of all time, but I love that we get to have sort of bigger philosophical discussions within this universe as a result of some of the things that have come about more recently. I just want to take a look at a couple quick more things here before I sort of bounce out of it. Just taking a look at some of the designs again. Like, I really love, again, this feeling. Like, it's a great overall design. You get some awesome tables to sort of help you figure it out. And these sort of like spot art pieces that break along the edges look great. Like, look at this one. The thing's awesome. In the top left corner, this sort of like, these vibes, man. These vibes are my vibes. Okay, so one last thing I want to talk about, because this is the edition of the game that I'm most excited about, is that they have actually included into the game solo play rules, this specific area called The Last Survivor. So in this version, you're going to create a character who is racing to survive something that you've created. So it gives you kind of rules on how to create a Last Survivor and play through your own version of the game. So whether you have a group or not, if you get this rule book, you can still play the game using these Last Survivor rules and the tables that are found throughout it. I love that Free League is continuing to do this. They've been doing this more and more with basically every game that they've released. And to include it straight up in the rule book, as instead of it being like a secondary thing or something like that, is showing this real shift towards more solo play-centric focus with role-playing games. As someone who loves group play, I love getting my friends together. It's incredibly difficult to do that, to get everyone together. But even beyond that, especially if you're more of like a GM-minded person or something, there's something really deeply satisfying about sitting down with just a character sheet and a sheet of paper and seeing a story come out through your own play, because you're getting to play both the GM and the player. And so the GM is presenting interesting situations, and then you're thinking, well, what would my character do? And so having this be an increasingly popular part of the hobby, I think, is really exciting. It's also kind of interesting when, like, we could just go play a video game or something, but we're getting an opportunity to make a game of our own, tell our own story, and we can do that within the Alien universe. So the Last Survivor rules, I think, are a great addition. I'll just show a couple quick screenshots of this. The things like this, like, the event check, danger level, these sort of tables that you get are really helpful tools. I mean, even down to like individual rules for space combat and stuff. I'd love to do a playthrough of this. I keep talking about wanting to do more solo play, and honestly, one of the reasons that's been holding me back has been more trying to find a format that I feel works well, and I'm just trying to figure out like what's that going to be, how do I want to present it. So I've largely been just doing a lot of research on it, but I would love to do a playthrough of this and show it off. In closing, I also want to show this off. This is a redesign of the character sheet. Again, looks gorgeous. Like the alien character sheet for the original version of the game was a really interesting take on it. Like they tried to do something pretty intriguing. Like it had a very interesting design choice where like there was like a central set of data, then everything sort of spidered out like a mind map. And while again an interesting design, maybe not as functional as it could be, and so this redesign is a great version of this. I even love that one of the things that they've done here in a lot of the games, what they do is you'll sort of have the main skills of your character, so like strengths, agility, wits, and empathy that we see on this game would be like on the top of one of the character sheets, and then all the skill trees would be below, and you'd have to sort of correlate what skill went with what ability and all this sort of thing. And it wasn't a bad design decision, but it was maybe a little bit more bouncing around than you needed to do. So I love that they made this decision to kind of combine it all right here, and then include all the additional, things like the stress level, all this stuff. It's really clean, guys. Free League, great job. This is really clean. I think this looks great. So that's my quick look at the Alien Evolved Edition, look at the beta rules that just came out. Like I said, I didn't want to do too deep of a dive into like the rules and all that sort of thing. This is more just a quick look at everything that they've done from a design decision standpoint and some of the additions I'm excited about. I'm really looking forward to giving the Alien role-playing game a bigger chance in the second edition. I've often... I really love space horror. I got into the Mothership game, which I think is great as well. It's sort of like the Alien role-playing game without the Alien IP, but it like in that same vibe and feel. It's a different system entirely, but you get the same vibes. And so I'm excited to try some adventures in the actual Alien universe. I think like my family's a big fan of the Alien franchise, so looking forward to maybe doing an adventure or two together with them in this setting and using these rules. So if it's a game that if you're intrigued by this, like I said, I do believe that you can still pre-order the game. You can pick up a PDF version of it, or go ahead and do a late pledge on the Kickstarter. Just look that up. I'll put a link down below as well where you can check it out. And this looks really good. So until next time, maybe we'll do a solo play here in the near future. I'll look into doing The Lone Survivor on the channel. That'd be a lot of fun. So take care. Talk to you later. Bye.